All right, so this is a variation of the order over not order over have, but the reconstitution type of questions. And in order to answer these, we need to be able to do a few things. We need to be able to answer and first of all, figure out what are they asking for, and then how to use the information they're asking. So what this question is showing is you would have a label or a label insert that would give you some of this information. It will tell you that it's available in a couple different vial sizes. It tells you how much water or diluent to add, which is usually sterile water, and then it'll tell you what the total volume is. Okay. We'll find the order listed typically, usually first 1,000 milligrams intramuscular every 6 hours. Because it's intramuscular, you already know automatically, even if it doesn't say so, that you're going to be giving this as an injection in milliliters. So it says how many milliliters would you administer and indicate which vial you would use. So this question is kind of missing some information because, I mean, you need to know which one you would use. There's a couple of guesses as to how to do that, but I will tell you that no matter which vial you use, you're going to get the same milliliter answer. So it really doesn't matter what you use, because like I said, you're going to get the same answer no matter what. The real question is just how many milliliters would you administer? And then if I were rewording this question, I would tell you to either use the 3 gram or the 1.5 gram vial, because you would need to know which one you were going to use. But the milliliters are going to be exactly the same. With the volume of milliliters diluent added, that just tells you or the pharmacy how much to add to get to the total volume. So you don't need to worry about that when you are doing your calculations. So what you are going to worry about is taking your grams per milliliter and converting milligrams to grams to get to your answer. So let me just explain what I mean by that. So my available is going to be something like this. My available is going to be, it's either going to be the 1.5 or the 3. So I'm just going to do 3 grams per 8 ml. So that's my available. Okay. So if I'm doing the order over have, which I imagine many of you are doing, my order again was the 1,000 milligrams, which is the same thing as 1 gram. So my order over my available is the 3 grams times the 8 milliliters. And then we are basically just doing 8 divided by 3. If I can get the correct app open. And you're going to get 2.66666 repeating. So your answer would be, you would round to the nearest 10th. So 2.7 milliliters is what you would pull out. So again, that would be for the 3 gram vial. If you did the 1.5 gram vial, you're going to get the same answer. 1 divided by 1.5, or 1 times 4 divided by 1.5 gives you the exact same answer, 2.66666, so 2.7 milliliters. The reason I'm telling you that, and you should intuitively kind of see that too, because 3 over 8 and half of that would be 1.5 over 4, which is what that is. The trick to this is knowing to use the vial size over the withdrawal volume. So this is a unique variation of a reconstitution type question. You're going to see a similar question down here, but this time it's going to be in units. Oh, go ahead, Mara.
I was just going to say, I have never seen a question written like this for the reconstitution. So I'm super confused.
This is what you would see if you were at Allegheny campus. This is
their
version of a reconstitution. So this is like in the practice set for 110. that I made for Allegheny campus.
Okay, they do it like this.
Yeah.
That is so confusing. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's basically all it is it's the same thing that we looked at last time, but instead of looking at the label's been written out for you. And so this is how unison as a
Gotcha.
reconstitution would look.
Okay.
And then this is how Pfizer pen, and I'll show you the images so you can kind of see that I'm not just making it up.
Yeah, I think the label is a lot easier than this. Yeah.
It probably, and you're also used to seeing it. And I think like when they see the label, they say, I don't know what this is. So it just depends on what you're used to seeing. So, but my anticipation is you will not see questions like this on your test, but someone had asked about it. And so, and I don't know if they're in at Boyce or not. So
Gotcha.
I think they're at Boyce. All right. So the Pfizer pen question just says it's the same type of thing. Here's your order, 350,000 units, intramuscular. So you know you're going to be administering milliliters. And there's information here that you need to know and information that's extra. Anytime you're doing dosage calc and it tells you milliliters diluent added, or you see that in there, you know, and if you don't know now, you do know now, you just ignore that section because that just tells the pharmacy how much water to add to get to the concentrations that are listed over here. And we know that because these are your units per milliliter. So looking at a label, you would see something very similar, and I'll show you an example of that in just a second. I'll pull up the images so you can see what I mean. But you would see that you can get different dilutions based off of the milliliters diluent added. So we would need to know which one to choose. So would I choose the 500,000? Would I choose the 1 million? Would I choose the 250,000 units? You would need to be told that. Or sometimes, and I can't see below this right now, but usually when this question gets asked, it'll tell you to choose the strongest concentration. And so in order to choose the strongest concentration, we just need to look at, we have three concentrations, 250,000, 500,000, 1 million. 1 million is the strongest concentration. And we know that because 1 million is greater than 500,000 and it's also greater than 250,000. So we would use this as our available quantity when we make our calculation. And so you would take your 350,000 units. Sorry, I keep hitting the button on this thing. 350,000 units over the 1 million units. Come on. All right, annotation turn off. That's good. Units. And it's ×1, so we don't need to do anything about that. So 350,000 over 1 million. Now a little shortcut, count up your zeros. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros up here, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros down here. So I'm going to remove 4. I'm going to remove 4. Okay. So 35 over 100 is easier, even though you can't really read that, but 35 over 100. So I'm just going to write 35 over 100 is easier to put into your calculator and make less of a mistake to get to your answer. And so I'm just going to put my answer over here. Your answer would be 0.35 milliliters. Now, do you think we would round that question? Should I round that to 0.4? What do you think?
Yes.
Okay. So as a reminder for your rounding rules, if there's a number less than 1, you would round it to the nearest 100th place. So you would actually leave this as your answer as 0.35. The only time you would definitively round this up is if you were marking a syringe and the syringe only went to the 10th, then that would be the applicable time to round that to the nearest 10th. But you can have syringes that go down to the 100th and even into the 1000th place. So a lot of times it's just dependent on what type of syringe you're using. If there is no syringe, then you're going to follow your rounding rules. The rounding rules state that if it's a number greater than 1 or greater, so 1.1 or greater, round to the nearest 10th. And if it's a number less than 1, so 0.99 and below, round to the nearest 100th place. And just to kind of keep in mind is sometimes I think they just want you to know that you can and maybe you want to look at having 2 significant digits in your answer, but that's really only applicable if you have kind of like a decimal. So like if your answer was 3, you don't need to write, 3.0. In fact, they tell you not to do that. No lagging zeros if they're not necessary. But if it's a number less than 1, round to the nearest 100th place. And so in this instance, there's no rounding required. All right. Let me go back to your practice sheets. So we've pretty much covered everything that you're going to see for your test. And it's just, again, it's just a matter of practice. So these are a few other practice questions that I've made similar. So this is just it's like a mock practice test that I have been pulling questions from and adding to the practice questions that I've posted for you on the Microsoft OneDrive. If there's anything that you're seeing here that you'd like to see work through, just either, just type it into the chat or just let me know, unmute. We could work through whatever you want to work through. And if these are looking okay, then we don't have to.
So the 1.5 pint, that's 480 ml in a pint. It's number
Oh, yes.
5.
Yes, because a pint is 2 cups and a cup is 240 milliliters. So 2 cups would be 480. So it'd be 1.5 times 480.
Yeah, it's just confusing. Like when I try to like confirm on the internet, they don't use 480 or whatever. They use like another number.
Yeah, you need to use what you're using in nursing. So there should be, well, here, I'll write these out so you have them, because you it should already be known to you. I don't know if it's written down somewhere, but you should know that 1 cup is the same thing as 8 ounces, which is the same thing as 240 milliliters. And 1 pint is equal to 2 cups, which is equal to 16 ounces, which is equal to the 480 milliliters. And then 1 quart is equal to 2 pints, which equals 4 cups, which equals 32 ounces, which is 960 milliliters. Now, the problem is, and I know what you're talking about, like when you go online and look, they'll tell you a pint is 500 milliliters, a cup is 250, and then a quart is 1,000 milliliters. Those are just, they're rounding up and to the nearest whole like milliliter. But these are the numbers that I know. I'm certain that, because I verified this with Professor Pietro last semester, that this is what she wants you using. So I imagine it's the same thing.
Can you do number 7?
Sure. Now 7 just kind of drives you nuts, right? Because you look at that
Yes.
and you're like, half cup. Okay. So before I do anything, we know that a cup is how many ounces?
8.
8 ounces. So what would half of 8 be?
4.
So 4 ounces times 30 milliliters is 120 milliliters.
Okay, yeah, I think I was just like looking way too deep into that.
Yep. A lot of times, and you're not the only one that does that. That's, I would say, is a common thing, just because you're looking to do more, and in reality, you need to do a lot less. Next semester, when you start doing flow rates, it's going to drive you nuts, because it's literally just volume over time, and then that's the math involved. Can you put, if it says 500 milliliters in 2 hours, what is the flow rate? You just need to know to do 500 divided by 2 to give you 250 milliliters per hour. It's that straightforward, but you're always looking to do more. Like, where's the label? Where's the conversion? But notice that I didn't sit there and go, okay, half a cup, what am I going to multiply and convert? I didn't take any unnecessary steps. The first question I said was, okay, I know that a cup is 8 ounces, and I know that half a cup then, or half of 8 ounces, would be 4 ounces. So 6 and 7 are basically the same question.
Do you offer tutoring like after we do the dosage calc? Because I know like one of our testable skills has drip rate questions on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know like if we could email you or something.
You can, and I will also say that if for whatever reason we can't connect, and I always have to get approval for doing like additional review sessions, but I've done the drop rate and flow rate questions a lot, and I've posted them on the YouTube channel. And usually what I'll do is, if you're looking for that specifically, I'll just email you the link to the specific video where it shows you how to do that sort of thing. And then we can always work from there.
Okay, thanks.
I also have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Just so as I'm looking at this, when you're going from small, wait a minute, I'm trying to think how I want to word it. Like, I know there's 1,000 milligrams in a gram.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier for me to like remember that 1,000 than it is for me to remember the decimals. So when I'm going from something that is smaller, like for example, 250 micrograms to milligrams,
Mm-hmm.
can you just divide it by 1,000 instead of multiplying the decimal point?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That would be exactly the right way to do that. And that's the same way I would say to go from milligrams to grams, is either move the decimal 3 spaces. And then whenever you're going from the smaller unit of measure to the bigger unit of measure, you're always going to move to the left. And then when you're moving from the bigger unit to a smaller unit of measure, you would move your decimal to the right. And then the other way of thinking about that is exactly what you said, is if you're going from a smaller unit, milligrams, to a bigger unit, grams, you would divide by 1,000. And same thing would be said for micrograms to milligrams, divide by 1,000. And then that dividing, and I understand what you're saying, like, because you learned like 1 gram is 0.001 milligrams or something like that. This is what I always keep in mind. 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams. 1 milligram is 1,000 micrograms. And I make sure that I keep those numbers like, and first of all, it's always 1,000, right? So it hopefully helps to keep it consistent and maybe a little bit simple. And then if you ever get stuck, if you're using dimensional analysis, that usually helps you to get unstuck. And what I mean by that is if I am at, let's say I'm at 1,500 milligrams and I want to convert that to grams, the conversion, in order to do that conversion, I know that I can get from milligrams to grams because I know that 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams. And what I say is the reason I always like to show dimensional analysis is because it keeps you from making the mistake of multiplying when you should be dividing and dividing when you should be multiplying. So I may have just said the same thing twice, but you want to make sure you're consistent until you get really good at it. And sometimes you already are instinctively, you already know to move that 3 to the left, 3 to the left, 3 to the left, and you know how to get your answer. I always like to add too, like if this number were 1,325, your final answer would be 1.325. And the reason being is you do not round your basic metric to metric conversions. And you've heard me probably say that way too many times. And I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'm going to scroll down some more, and if there's something that you see that you'd like to work through, just stop me and just let me know, and we'll work through it just for additional practice. And you'll see that you have most of these questions. They're just, maybe I use different values. And for clarification, none of this is material that has ever been on a test. I made up these questions, but I utilized a lot of the similar labels that you might see in a testing situation.
Okay, so that number 12
Yes.
would not, we would just ignore the teaspoon.
Right. So it's, first of all, tell me, what does a teaspoon equal?
5 milliliters.
You got it. So yeah, I would just immediately convert the teaspoons into 5 milliliters and use that as your conversion factor.
Okay, I'm going to try to do it.
That way you don't have to worry about teaspoons. Just immediately turn it to 5. And I know that's the struggle, right? Is remembering
Yeah.
that 1 teaspoon is 5 milliliters.
So I got 12.5 for that answer.
Okay. I just need to double check. So 10 divided by 4 times 5, I got 12.5 as well.
Okay.
And then the other thing is it told you what to look for. So if they had not told you, you could have possibly answered this question in teaspoons, and then you would have just had 10 divided by 4, and your answer would have been 2.5 teaspoons. But they obviously wanted it in milliliters. And you'll see that a lot of like for this, if this is by mouth, so an oral syringe sometimes will usually have, it may have both milliliters, teaspoons, and tablespoons. If you've ever, I always say like I'm a parent and I've had to give my kids like an oral antibiotic before, or like oral acetaminophen, and then you'll see like the oral syringe, it'll have it both in milliliters and teaspoons, and maybe even tablespoons. because sometimes they're going to write it out to give it to them as 2 teaspoons. The pediatrician probably assumes that most parents are more comfortable with teaspoons and tablespoons, just like, most Americans are more comfortable with gallons of gas versus liters of gas, but it just depends on what you're utilizing. I just remember, always shade in your syringes, because they will you will miss that question even if you got all the math right and you answered it correctly. Make sure you're shading in your dose on your syringe.
So I don't know, like last semester we took this on Blackboard and we did not have any shading questions. I don't know if it's going to be moved to paper, or like we got a scratch piece of paper and we would have to turn it in, but we did it on Blackboard. So
yeah, if it's on Blackboard, then then you probably won't be shading.
okay.
I will say that I know that Allegheny campus had it where they had it keyed, so like if you could drop a point on the image, and then that would and then it could get graded that way. So it is possible.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if that was gonna happen. I don't know what it's in like 2 weeks. They haven't really said like the format or anything. So
my guess is that it's gonna be paper, but yeah, they'll let you know. And then you just, if you don't have to shade anything, then you don't have to worry about. I just prepare you for paper, because the paper, they can usually ask you a few extra things that maybe they can't on a Blackboard. And then also on Blackboard, you can annotate and you can draw on an image, but you got to be really steady with your mouse. And if you've been watching me over the last couple of weeks, I've made the transition from mouse to a pen, and it's not that easy. It can be challenging, but some of you probably have steadier hands than I do. But if you do need to mark your syringe, just make sure you remember to do it.
can we, I don't know, I feel comfortable with everything, Mandy. I don't want to, if you have a question, I don't want to like over talk with whatever.
No, you're good. I'm actually reviewing some of the practice worksheets right now just to see if there's any questions on here I have.
Can we do an I&O question?
Sure.
Or I guess an intake.
Yeah, I think you just have to worry about the intake.
Yeah.
On the practice, like the test for Allegheny campus, they have an output and then it's a replacement volume. So, but it looks to me like you're going to be doing this as your I&O, which is just purely intake. So, I think we did
that one.
the number 9.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can do this one then. All right. So for our quarter glass, remember that one glass is 8 ounces. So a quarter glass would be the same thing as 1/4 of 8, or 8 divided by 4. So 2 ounces. Are you okay with where I got that from?
Yeah, I think that was confusing me. Or like the number 9 has 2/3 or something. Yeah, I think that's where I need more clarity.
And that's one of the, I don't know that you'll even see something like that on your actual test. I just put that on there as like to challenge you a little bit, to make you think through it. And so, yeah. So all I'm doing is, since I know that one glass is 8 ounces, since it tells me that, there's 2 ways to look at that. So I can either just put the 8 over the 4, or I could just say 1/4 times 8/1. And then again, you just multiply across the top, divide by the bottom, but it's the same thing. So you're going to still get 2 ounces. And also, if you have a like a regular calculator, like you're not using your phone, if you, well, even if you are using your phone, if you do 1 divided by 4 times 8, you'll get the same answer. So 1 divided by 4 times 8 will still give you 2. In the event that you're doing that, you can still plug that into your calculator, and then obviously the practice part. But I think you might see half class. I don't think you're going to see quarter and 2/3. I was just trying to challenge you a little bit and make it a little bit different just in case, because I'd rather you be prepared for something like that than not.
So the half pint would just be 240,
Yeah, because half pint is what? 1 cup, which is,
480.
well,
Oh, wait, what did you say?
yeah, a half pint equals 1 cup, and
And
1
that's
cup
240.
is 240. Yep.
Okay. I did 480 divided by 2.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no like one right way to do these. I'm just telling you like what I did, and you did exactly right. 1 pint is 480, half of that is 240. Perfect.
So at the end, when we get the answers, we just add it up. We don't have to do anything else.
Correct. Yeah, you just need to know to obviously ignore the solids.
Yeah.
and then make sure you incorporate like this popsicle. And I would say like the hint is usually there's an ounce listed to it. The only thing I think that, and I don't think that they would do this to you, but if they wanted to trick you, they could tell you that they had a 6-ounce piece of chicken or a 6-ounce, steak, or, an 8-ounce burger. Those are weight ounces, not fluid ounces, and that's why you ignore those ounces. But they could do that as like to try and be tricky, but I don't know. I hope that they wouldn't do that, but maybe they would on like an NCLEX or something like that. So if I said that this was a 1 8-ounce Reuben sandwich, I think we all know that a sandwich is not liquid.
Right.
If I said a Jell-O pudding popsicle sandwich, then we'd have some confusion, but I didn't do that, and I wouldn't do that either.
That sounds gross.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess reviewing some of the practice worksheets I printed here, there's like one that says a doctor order for Biaxin 400 milligrams BID for 1 dose the nurse will administer. And my biggest question is, like, I know that's twice a day, so it would be 200 milligrams that we're looking at. But are they asking for the answer in milligrams or milliliters?
All right. So is that on one of my practice tests?
It is.
Okay.
It's number 7.
On the practice set or the practice test?
I'm not sure.
That's okay. Let me just see. I have them open. So
it has 10 questions total.
Oh, okay. So that's I know what that is. Hold on, let me open that up real quick. Oh, no, not that one. There's only 10 questions?
Yeah, it has like convert your weight in pounds, convert 5 centimeters to inches, convert 200 micrograms to milligrams.
Oh.
And it has like your insulin coverage. Which would you choose, regular, MPH, or Humalog? And then under that, it has number 7, and it's
Okay.
a Biaxin. It has like the label. It just doesn't say whether it wants it in milligrams or milliliters, so that's where I'm like unsure.
Okay, just give me 1 second. That might actually be like another test. So let me just see what we got here. No.
Oh, wait, no, it has more. There's 11, 12, 13. Maybe it is a test. You're right.
Okay.
Because it has like 20 or more questions.
Okay.
It keeps going.
Does it, can you tell me what the file name says?
I have it printed.
Oh, okay, that doesn't help.
I think it was one of the first ones that I printed, though.
And what was the medication again?
Biaxin, Biaxin.
All right, well, let's just recreate it real quick because I'm not finding it. So
Okay.
sorry about that. Yeah, I was trying to say, I thought maybe I had it available, and then I was looking to see, well, where else would that have come from? I'm just going to go down to the bottom of this and then. Go. All right, so what's the order again?
The order is 400 milligrams BID of Biaxin.
Okay. And then is there a label or?
Yeah, the label says 125 milligrams per 5 milliliters.
Okay. So, and then you were asking
Like, do
how.
they want it in milligrams or milliliters? That's just
Okay. So just for as far as dosages are concerned, we're either gonna and it doesn't sound like it told us it was by mouth or intramuscular or intravenous, but let's just assume it's by mouth. We when we're administering the medications, we're either going to be administering tablets.
It is oral. It does say oral.
Okay, so PO. Okay, POBID. Okay, so if it's by mouth, it's either going to be tablets, capsules, or milliliters. Because I can't expect, just put yourself in the shoes of like general public, and they're being told to administer a medication to themselves or to a kid. They're not going to weigh out or measure out milligrams, but they're going to say, okay, I give them 2, or I'm going to give them 10 milliliters, or whatever the case may be. The other thing that's a surefire way to know is anytime your available has milliliters listed, then you know that that's how you're administering it. And so if you're solving this to know how much to administer, and you would be administering this per dose, you would take 400 milligrams, your order, over your available, the 125, and then times your 5 milliliters.
So even though it's twice a day, we don't want to worry about that.
Well, you would just give this dose twice a day. So that's all that means. So if it asked you to calculate how much you would administer per day, then that would be important. But usually if it doesn't say anything other than, to calculate the dose, they want to know what is the dose like per dose. So the BID, you don't divide that number. You don't divide 400 by 2. In fact, you're giving them 800 milligrams in the day. So you'd actually double the dose. But we don't care necessarily about how much they're giving per day. We just care that they're receiving it, that the appropriate quantity per dose. So I did 400 times 5 divided by 125, and you get an answer of 16 milliliters. And then for the day, they would be receiving 32 milliliters of this medication. And then I guess the short answer to your original question is, how do you know what you're going to give them? If it's an oral medication, it has to be administered via a tablet, a capsule, a caplet, or they're going to do it via milliliters. There might be other things like, like a lozenge or a wafer, but that's usually indicated what they are when they're being administered. And then, like I said, the telltale sign, especially for these types of things, are if you see it's the available dosage is in per milliliter, then you know that you're going to give it to them, and it's an oral or a liquid suspension, and you're going to give that to them in milliliters.
Okay, and then there's another label. It says Librium, 100 milligrams. It says you are to administer 50, so you would just say it would just be 0.5.
So
It doesn't say anything else. Like, I'm looking through it. It literally doesn't give me any other information there.
okay, so there's no label.
Yeah, it has a label. It just says sterile powder. So it's an oral or sterile powder. Yeah, it doesn't say if it's a suspension.
Okay, so if it's a powder, most likely you're gonna have to look at the side label. Is there a side label? Because that sounds like a reconstitution question to me.
The only other thing that I see on it is 2 milliliter size special intramuscular diluent.
Okay. Are you able to share I don't even know how you do that on here. Like, I don't know if you could send a file, like an image, or you might even be able to. Oh no, you said you had it printed off. Never mind, that doesn't help us. Because I don't think that that's my practice test. My guess is that's did they give you a practice test as well at Boyce?
No, I mean, maybe I thought I pulled it from you.
Okay, sorry.
But I guess
I'm thinking I have them all, and those labels just don't sound familiar to me, which is I'm trying to figure out what's practice set that would have came from of the 110 practice.
Yeah, it's confused. I almost feel like I just want to steer away from it because it's making me confused more than anything else.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if you're able to send me, like, just email me like a picture of a few of the questions. You don't have to send like a picture of everything.
Yeah, here, I'll do it right now.
I was gonna say, and if you email it to me, I can take a look and then see if I have that particular thing. But I don't think that I do. And I was looking at the other questions I had. I'm just trying to see.
What is your email again?
Here, I'll put it into the chat. Then
Okay,
we can just
thanks.
copy it.
Dr. Rad, I am going to head out.
Oh, okay.
Are you, so we'll meet next Tuesday?
Yeah, I'll be with you guys next week, Tuesday and Thursday. Yes.
Okay, I'll see you then. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
See ya.
Okay, I sent it. And maybe you can just recommend what practice sheets I should do then so that I'm not like doing stuff that's not going to be on this test. You know what I mean?
Right. I understand that completely, and I won't. Yeah, and I will let you know. I'll say,